Hello and welcome back. This is the second part of our videos related to new work programs and new calls that are going to be open within Horizon Europe in the next 2 years. So if you remember, in my previous video, I introduced you to work programs and I explained to you why they are important. Today, I'm going to explain you why I recommended you not to read everything directly, why to pre-select topics that are of an interest to you, and what to do as a next step. So what I have prepared for now is a kind of practical example of how I would be working with work programs. So it's up to you whether it is inspiring and whether you can get some kind of inspiration for your own thinking when you decide whether this work program or the call is suitable for you or not. Why I do this, it's based on experience. Generally, we tend to see what we want to see in the calls. I have experienced quite frequently that my clients saw calls for proposal and they just sort of picked information that were relevant to their situation and they saw opportunities in the call which were suitable to them. But what is important to understand is the moment that when you try to analyze the call for proposal, you have to look at it from the perspective of the funding institution, in this case, European Commission. So this is what I'm going to show you at this moment. It's a kind of practical experiment of how to work with work programs and what kind of information I can get from them and, well, how to understand it in order to decide whether the call is suitable for me or not. So what I'm going to do at the moment is to share with you the online environment so that we can have a look and start from where we finished in the previous video, which is, of course, the page with the reference document. So this is going to be our start. Well, so here we are where we finished yesterday. This is the web page where European Commission presents all the work programs for the coming next 2 years. And I have selected, because I promised I'm going to focus more detailed on work program 2 and work program 11. So I have picked work program number 5, Culture, Creativity and Inclusive Society, to show you how I would work with the work program myself in order to decide whether there is something suitable either for me and for the topics I'm interested in or for my clients. So let's have a look. I did with this work program exactly what I recommended to you yesterday. So I read the table of contents. And as you have seen, I have highlighted the topics that could possibly be of an interest either to me or, as I said, to some of my clients. The first one, as you see, I'm going to focus a little bit more in details. So I'm going to leave out this one for now and focus on it later. But here are a couple of other calls for proposal, which I think could be a nice way of showing yourself, of sharing some kind of example of how to work with it. Sorry, a little bit confused. Anyway, so let's have a look on this call, which I wanted to demonstrate you on this particular call, which is focused on a remote working arrangements and their economic, social, and spatial effects. Sounds good to quite a lot of people across even the Czech Republic. Well, people focused on social sciences might think there is something interesting for them in this call. And people quite frequently open the text of the call, and what they do, they just read the scope of activities. As you see, in expected outcome, European Commission tells us, okay, so we expect that the project should contribute to better understanding, increased understanding, etc., etc. And people tend to read these 4 bullet points and they think, okay, I can cover the first and the third topic. And then they think that's okay. We can now try to compete for this funding. But this is slightly problematic because, as you see, the total budget allocated for this call is 9 million euros. European Commission expects projects between 2 and 3 million euros. That says that, well, about 3 to 4 projects are expected to be funded. And this topic should be focused on the whole European research area, or on the whole European area, which means if you want to be successful, number one, you have to consider the geographical location of your project activities. That's the first thing. And the second thing, when I come to the bullet points, is that just look at the call from the perspective of someone who has money. You want to solve this problem. You are not trying to support research community. You want to find the proper research community that is able to give you answers to all these topics. And because Europe is big, so there will always be teams of partners, of universities, of research institutes or organizations who would be able to cover all topics. So just when you consider what kind of project you would like to create within such call, be aware that it's okay if you can address only 2 of the topics, but many of the other projects, the projects with which you are going to compete in future, will be able to cover all 4 of them. So when you look at it again from the perspective of someone who is distributing money, yourself, would you prefer to choose a consortium who is that is able to answer you all questions at once, meaning that also your managerial and administrative costs would be smaller, lower, compared to the situation where when you pick more projects? Well, of course, these more projects could be of higher value, so I can't say that you can never be successful. But believe me, there are excellent projects that are able to cover absolutely everything that is mentioned in the call. So unless you can really cover everything, be really careful what kind of project you are proposing in order to be really competitive. So I don't say that what you create can't be attractive for European Commission and for evaluators, but always keep in mind the competing projects, that they really might come out with more information, with better proposals, with broader scope of activities. So whatever is recommended to be included in the project proposal is not the kind of you could do it. It's really better to treat it as this is a kind of obligation. We should include our project in order to be successful. So this is recommendation number 1. Whenever you read the text of the call, have a look at how much money is allocated. Try to imagine, okay, if it's 9 million euros for the whole call, and they expect such a big project of 2 to 3 million euros, that means that the project should cover quite a lot of agenda at the European level. So it always is, of course, individual decision how you approach this problem, but just try to look at it from the perspective of the European Commission. You always want to invest your money as efficiently as possible. So the more complex solutions researchers will come out with, of course, such projects will be more attractive. So think about it always from the perspective of every single detail. And what is also important, don't stop with reading just the name of the call as such, but look at the section. Let's return to the table of contents and look at the section within which the call is published. And this section is called Destination Innovative Research on Social and Economic Transformation. So whenever they speak about innovative research, it sort of point out in the direction of application. So it's more applied research than basic research. You cannot always include basic research in these projects, but whenever they speak about innovation, innovative, it really tells you that it is closer to applied research, to something that might be used in real life. And quite frequently, they will also ask you about dissemination activities that are focused towards application of the knowledge. So this is really not a sort of projects that will be just generating knowledge for knowledge in order to generate publications, but they will always, whenever they mention something like innovation or innovative, there will always be strong aspect of possible application of knowledge you are going to generate. So this was the first recommendation related to what I can read from the text of the call. And as you could see, in this particular in this particular example, even though in the text of the call, you can see that it is the one that is expected for the year 2023, when you check the details, there were no dates when the call is going to be opened. So this refers to something I mentioned yesterday, that there will be some information missing. So when they don't know when the call is planned to open, this information is still not included in this draft work program. That's the reason why they are draft, and once they will be published as final version, this information should be included for the year 2023. But we can overcome this problem of not knowing when the call is going to be open by checking another page of the European Commission, and we are still together on funding and tender portal. So I have already opened this part of, again, European official web pages. So as I said yesterday, everything is located on the web page called europe.eu, which is wonderful. So again, if you don't remember, just use Google, type europe.eu and funding and tender opportunities, and you will get to this web page. Actually, from Google, you won't get directly to this one. You will probably have to choose this first part of the web and choose this search funding and tenders. And when you click on this, you will get to this environment. As you see, there are quite a lot of grants covered in the search at the moment. So what I want to do, I would like to see, of course, the calls for the work program number 5 for the years 2023 to 24, if they are available. So certainly they are forthcoming. And they are not yet open for submission. So I can switch off the open for submission as well as close. You see, now I got only 500 and something funding opportunities. But what I do further, you see that there is a kind of further selection tools. So you select, okay, I want to find something for future, and I search in Horizon Europe. And as you see, I have already prepared my search. So you search for the program part, culture and creativity. So this is this work program number 5. And what I got is here. And as you see, suddenly I got only 44 funding opportunities that, as you see, talk mostly about year 2023. And this list of funding opportunities will definitely include most of the calls that were already introduced in this draft work program. So as you see, you can click and open and have a look on the information that is available. And this information with the topic description, expected income, expected outcome will include exactly the same information as you could find out in the work program. So what you read here is about the same structure of information that you get from this work program. But once the calls are open, the most detailed information will be always available on this web page. So this was the tip on how to find this missing information on when the call for proposals will be open. And if it's not yet here in the forthcoming call, it probably means that it will be open later in 2023. So be again careful and occasionally just check whether the information is already available or not. So it's a forthcoming call, it was not yet open. So that's the reason why I had to pre-select in these submission stages forthcoming, not open for submission. We can try open for submission, but you will see that probably won't be much. There is still something open. And you see these are calls that were recently opened in December, 14th of December, so very fresh ones. and you can have a look. It might be already something, and I think with high probability it could be some of the calls that were, they were already covered in this draft work program. How I know it? Well, that's simple reason, because here is the identification of the call, as you see. And in this identification, there is the year 2023. This refers to the fact that this call is already related to the new work program for 2023 to 2024. So this is how work program is related to funding and tender opportunities in terms of information that is available in the text. So for now, I will return back to the work program and I will look further on the table of contents. So apart from this call, I consider to be quite interesting, and this section might be relevant to most of the work programs. As you see, they also seek experts. European Commission opens calls for experts in certain areas. So as you see, these are calls that are expected to be open in order so that Commission can hire experts in this area. So I believe if you check all the other work programs, there will be definitely announcement for more types of experts. So I will later also talk about in one of my videos how to become an expert for the European Commission. Most of the things I will be talking about, I experienced myself, I tried myself, so I can talk from a personal perspective as well, which is really good. But anyway, as I said, working as an expert, it's something for the next video. But just for you to notice, this is also an option. You don't have to submit big project proposals with other partners. You can also offer to the Commission your own expertise. So this is something I highly recommend. And as I said, I chose also one of the calls in which we will look on a little bit more details of what I need to look at when I decide whether the call is suitable to me or not. So the call I thought that we could focus on is called Cultural Heritage in Transformation, Facing Change with Confidence. Okay, already from the call, if I'm working in cultural heritage, sounds like this is something for me. But I have to notice there are two terms, transformation and facing change. So the first question you would have to ask yourself, okay, what kind of transformation and what kind of change? And probably this is going to be explained in the call. In case it's not, be careful, because these two words might be crucial in order to identify what really is expected from projects. So you really need to be clear about what kind of change and transformation they refer to with this call. So as you see, they tell you something about expected outcome again. When you look at the money, it's about the same budget as we saw the last time, 9 million, and expected amount of money per project between 2 to 3 million euros. So again, we can expect 3 to 4 finance projects. And again, because they never know what kind of projects they will get. So this is just a kind of estimation. But they tell you we prefer bigger projects covering more areas because it's more efficient for us to kind of collaborate with bigger teams in terms of one consortium rather than lots of smaller ones. Because always keep in mind that also running a project doesn't cost money only on the side of implementation team, but also the funding authority needs to allocate people who will manage your project, who will communicate with you, and this all costs money. So logically, they don't want to invest that much money into the administrative procedures. They want to focus or direct as much money as possible towards research, not the bureaucratic structures. So again, from the logical perspective, it's better to finance a couple of really good big projects than a lot of small ones. So be careful when you decide on your strategy. I have already pointed out that we have to be careful. Whenever they tell you that something should be included in the project, see it as a must. These parts really kind of have to be in your project in order to be successful. So it's both a deeper and broader understanding of phenomena. And as you see in the next step, they also already want to have some kind of evidence-based method, so test it in smaller scale. So there will definitely be some kind of pilot studies. And when you read this text of the call, which in total has about 1.5 pages, they will talk about those pilot projects and what they expect from them. So be careful and don't avoid anything that is written in this text. It is really, really important, because what we tend to do with texts of calls for proposals, we tend to pick information that is relevant for our situation. But you really have to do it from the perspective that everything is relevant for the project they want to finance. So you really have to try to come out with a solution that covers everything that is mentioned here. So talking about everything, I try to enlarge it so that we can see it a bit better. And look at this. So as you see, they start to talk about something. So they talk about assisting territorial cohesion. Cohesion is probably the proper pronunciation. And they already give you a reference number. So whenever they give you any kind of reference, this is a rule number 1. Never ever avoid this reference document, because this reference document explains why they came up with this call. They give you some kind of background information. What was the thinking behind the call? Why they came up with this text. And see this text, they use the general language. There is a reason for that, because they want to give the proposers as big space as possible, because the logic is, we have money, we know there is a problem. Okay, we describe the problem as this based on previous information and analysis we were provided by some kind of experts. So that's the reason why we give you a reference. And please, you experts in the field, propose to us what could be done in order to face this challenge, this problem. So it's really a big work to get into understanding the problem from the perspective of the European Commission. And this is the reason why I told you, be careful and choose at first calls that seem to be relevant to your topic, because as you see, there's a lot of work behind every call for proposal and its text in order to understand what is really meant by these words, because there is always meaning, some specific meaning behind this, even though it might sound like big words, like abstract words. But whenever something is mentioned, it means that there might be a lot of knowledge, a lot of work behind this all. So a rule number 2 or 3, I don't know how many rules I have already recommended to follow, but whenever there is given some kind of reference number, reference document, look at the document and see what is inside of it, because it can help you to navigate your thinking towards what they expect from projects. So as you see, I highlighted, there's another, they talk about benefits of future generations. So again, there will be probably some kind of strategy, some kind of analysis that already recommends something in relation to culture and heritage things for the future generation. So again, you need to read it in order to create some kind of image of what they expect. Okay, as you see, I mentioned that there were 2 bullet points, and one of them refers to the fact that they expect from projects some kind of evidence-based methods tested in smaller scale. And later, they refer again to this topic and they tell you, okay, at least 3 small-scale pilot trials should be carried out in different settings. So they already tells you in a way how they expect you to perform this testing of those methods. So again, something you need to consider. And the last but not least, I highlighted this line, the last paragraph. And as you see, they recommend you that the proposals should build on existing knowledge. Horizon Europe is the 9th framework program, so there is a lot of pre-existing knowledge and a lot that has already been done at the level of European Union in terms of all sorts of topics. So here they suddenly talk about existing knowledge, activities, networks, notably the ones funded by the European Commission. Okay, and then they talk about synergies with related actions. So this again sounds quite, well, general. So what I always recommend to do, okay, so there must be some networks in the area of culture across the European Union. I know nothing about them at the moment. So what I could do in order to learn more about them. So what we always do whenever we don't know something, we use Google, and I don't know where I have my Google search. So here is the Google search, and I just used cultural heritage networks. And again, I'm referring to the webpage of European Union, so europe.eu. So I want to do something in the area of culture. They tell me that there are some kind of networks already existing. There is some pre-existing knowledge, and I know nothing about this. So this is an easy way how to learn what is there available at the level of European Union. So when I make my search ready, so you see, and I already tried, so the first link directs me directly to European networks, culture and creativity. That sounds exactly like something I'm interested in. So this is the web page you are going to get when you click on this link. So cultural heritage, I open the European networks, culture and creativity. You see, I get to the web page of European networks, and look how much has been already happening in the area of cultural strength. So when I want to know more about networks, I select the European networks, or they even tell me more about cultural strength. So you see, you don't have to search that much. They have already prepared a lot of information for you. So this is a kind of trouble I come across quite frequently, that people see the call and don't make this kind of pre-analysis of what has been happening in the area before this call, because every call is building upon, or it builds upon, what has been created at European level so far. So if you don't know, it's like the idea that European Commission or European Union has already built some kind of basic structure of a building, and you suddenly propose a window to the building, and you don't know anything about the shape of the window, so you might be proposing something wrong. So it is important to understand the shape of the building, the structure European Union has built so far. And for this, it's important to perform this kind of pre-analysis of every call. I don't say this is end of it, but when you want to understand the call really well, you just need to check and see whether there is something that is relevant to your situation. So in this case, we either look at the general information on culture area, or we can look at networks, European networks, because they mention it's a good thing to collaborate with other networks. So just imagine that we work in the area of cultural heritage. So my question is, what is available in the area of cultural heritage? And I see there is a network of Europa Nostra. So they offer me, you see, in total, just 5 networks that were already built. So these are the sections of the construction of the building in the area of cultural heritage that were already built by the European Union. So in order to get ready for the call and see whether you really are able to propose something interesting, this is again a kind of additional knowledge you need to obtain in order to decide on what kind of solution you would like to offer to the European Commission. And I don't say that you have to become coordinator of a project, but again, even if you want to offer someone your expertise, it's really good to kind of come out with the offer with the knowledge what kind of value you can offer to your potential partners. So it helps you to communicate more efficiently and to define better your potential role within a project consortium. So This is all for today, what I wanted to tell you. I know it probably was still quite a lot, but now I was just talking about how to understand the text of the call for proposal and why is it important to look at it in more details in order to find additional information so that you can interpret the meaning of the call in such way that is based on understanding of the problem by the funding authority. Because we always need to see it, okay, someone has money and demand for special services in terms of basic research, applied research, and we are here to offer our services, our knowledge, in order to solve the problem. So we really need to understand how the funding authority, who has the money, sees the problem so that we can really offer the best possible solution. And this kind of thinking you do when you read calls for proposals and when you consider what kind of opportunities are there for you and your research. So we can always either decide, well, this is wonderful and we can try to be coordinators, or you may try to contact your partners across the Europe and already ask them if you know that they are more experienced in European projects. So you can already ask them, okay, do you know about this call? Do you consider it interesting? Can we collaborate because we have this specific knowledge and we think we could add brilliantly to the call and to the project we could propose together? Or, well, you can try to be a coordinator, which is of course challenging, but if you don't try, you never know whether it is something for you or not. And definitely, you always learn a lot from challenging tasks. So I wouldn't never say don't try it. I think it's always like whenever you try to do something that's slightly bigger than the challenges you had before, you always learn a lot from it. And by the way, I think I'm going to have for future a couple of interviews with colleagues who really tried to reach for something bigger and what all they have learned from this exercise. So anyway, thank you for today. So this was the video number 2. And in video number 3, I will still go on with the topic of this work program number 5, the culture heritage, because it's kind of quite close to me. And it's not, as I said, the work program number 2 of 11, which I'm going to be a little bit more focused in coming videos. So in the 3rd video, I will still add some more information on how to understand what has been done so far in the area and how this can help you in crafting your better project solutions. So thank you very much for your attention today. That's all for me in the 2nd video, and I hope to see you in the 3rd one. So goodbye. And if you have any question, well, leave comments and I'll try to answer them. So anyway, thank you, and well, see you the next time.